read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child by J.K. Rowling. John Tiffany and Jack Thorne, of course, is the play. It's described as the 8th story, 19 years later after the end of Book 7. Book 7 had that epilogue. A lot of people didn't like the epilogue, where you saw 19 years into the future of Harry married to Ginny with their 3 children, the middle child, Albus Severus. And then you have Hermione and Ron are married. They've got 2 kids, Rose and Hugo. And then Draco has a child, Scorpius. Keep doing that with the names. Scorpius, Rose, and Albus Severus are all entering Hogwarts for the first time at the end of Book 7. And that same epilogue, the exact same epilogue, is how this book begins. Like I said, I enjoyed the epilogue. I like that little peek into the future. My overall thoughts of this particular book, it was a nostalgic read. I like getting back into the wizarding world. I like seeing my familiar characters, although some of them had changed, it seemed like, quite a bit. Ginny, Harry's wife, just seemed relegated to a minor character. Even Ron in this one, you know, he helped in the, the Battle of Hogwarts and everything, fighting against Voldemort, and yet here he is just like running his brother's joke shop. I mean, an underutilized character at best. But I like seeing like Professor McGonagall, seeing Snape kind of back in a certain situation. A couple of things I did like. I'll say when they first get on Hogwarts Express, and Rose is telling Albus how important it is that they meet the right people and make the best friends, because that's how it worked for their parents, and it made them, who they were. And then Albus stumbles across Scorpius on the train, and they get to talking, and then Rose realizes who he is. He's the son of Draco Malfoy, a Slytherin, and she's like, tries to get him out of there, and it's sort of like he decides, no, I like this guy, I think we could be friends, and he decides to make that decision for himself, which is kind of reminiscent of Harry with Ron, and then Draco saying, I can show you who the right people are, and he says, I can make that decision for myself. So little snippets like that I liked, but there was a lot wrong with it. Cringe-worthy moments when Albus is in disguise of Ron and kissing Hermione. I'm just like, it took some weird paths that just, didn't settle well with me, and overall I just gave it 3 stars for more the nostalgia factor of it than anything. Moving on to Career of Evil by Robert Galbraith. This is the 3rd Cormoran Strike novel, and this one we found out a whole lot more about Robin Ellicott, and she is sort of the now partner of Cormoran Strike in his detective agency. The mystery in this one is someone sends Robin a severed leg through the mail, and instantly they're thinking it's someone Cormoran knows, and maybe by threatening her will do harm to Cormoran. But of course she's a bit freaked out as well, and we start to find out slowly things about her past, and then through the suspects that he thinks might be responsible, we find out more about Cormoran's past as well. Really good mystery within it. I love the characters and everything, and I'm really enamored with this series. I like a really good mystery, a good English mystery with detectives, more so than like the noir kind of mystery, or I like the cozies as well, but this settles just right in the middle of there, and I gave that one 5 stars. Next, I read John Knowles' A Separate Peace. This is basically a boarding school in New England, and we meet 2 students. One is Gene. He's sort of an introverted, intellectual young man, and he meets Phineas, or Finn, is sometimes called, who's more the athletic, handsome, kind of all outgoing, extroverted young man, and he kind of pulls Gene into his circle, and both of them are like the top of their field, if you want to say, athletic field or intellectual field. And there's times when Gene's trying to study for tests and things, and Finn's like, oh no, come on, let's go out and do this. It's like, he starts to suspect, is he trying to sabotage his success? And it's unfounded, and an event takes place that will affect both of them. This is also on the cusp of kind of near the end of World War II, and some students are signing up, and war will play a factor in it as well. But overall, I mean, it was just an okay story. It's a bit slow pacing for me at times. I know just overall I gave it 3 stars. It was just a book I'd never had to read in school, and I was curious about it and decided I wanted to pick it up. Next up, I have The Island of Dr Moreau by H.G. Wells. Now, not too long ago, I think maybe about a month ago, I read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, and this book reminded me a whole lot about it. We have a main character by Edward Prendrick. He's the sole survivor of a shipwreck, and he ends up on an island of Dr. Moreau, who's a vivisectionist. He has been shunned by society. He wants no part of it anymore. He's off on this secluded island doing his experiments. He has a man who works with him named Montgomery, who actually helped save Edward when he spotted him out in the ocean. But now that Edward is on the island, he's pretty much not going to be allowed to leave, because then he would give away his secrets. Very much like the main characters, and you have Captain Nemo, and he's shuns society. He has a crew of people that don't seem to speak a language. Well, none of the people other than Montgomery will talk to Edward and hear. But then he stumbles upon some of these experiments that Dr. Moreau has been up to on the island. Some of them are quite horrific. He hears some of them and does stumble upon and sees some of the things and some of the results. Very intriguing human, animalistic type characters that he's kind of created. It was intriguing. It was a lot of action. Definitely held my interest. Very easy to read, this particular classic. And overall, I gave it 5 stars. Next up, I read I Captured the Castle by Dodie Smith. And this is a book I've been wanting to read for quite some time. It was on one of my lists for books I wanted to read for this year. It is told sort of in a journalistic format. There's a young girl by the name of Cassandra Mortmatt. She is hoping to be a writer one day, kind of like her father, who was once a famous writer, who is now not able to seemingly write anything. And because of that, there is no income sort of coming in, and the family sort of sliding into poverty. But they seem to take everything in stride, which I was kind of surprised by, until one day 2 visitors kind of arrive at what they call their castle. And I think they've become a little bit more aware of the poverty they're sort of living in, and trying to entertain guests when they have very little at times is a bit difficult, and feeling how they'll be viewed by society, by the somewhat tattery clothes they're wearing and stuff. And that maybe affects her older sister, who starts to form a relationship with one of the gentlemen that comes to visit, even though there might be a lack of true feelings there. So it was interestingly told, beautifully written, a lot of interesting characters, from the father to the eccentric stepmother, the genius younger brother, and it's sort of her like a coming of age story, and it was just, like I said, it was beautifully told. I had previously seen the movie version of this, so I had a lot of those images in my head, which I think they did a really great adaptation of it. But it was truly an enjoyable read, and I gave this one 5 stars. And my favorite book of the month of August was The Creeper Man by Dawn Kurtagich. This is the UK cover and title of her second novel. In the US it is called And the Trees Crept In. It has a totally different cover design to it, but that only just released here in the US in September, and this one came out in August in the UK. So obviously I didn't want to wait. Her first book, The Dead House, was in my top 10 from last year, and I absolutely adore it. Her books are basically YA horror, and to give you an idea of the way they make you feel, it's like when you're a kid and you're walking down a dark hallway at night and you hear a sound behind you, and you don't want to look because you're afraid you might see something there, and you're anticipating a hand on your shoulder or a breath on the back of your neck, and you hustle your way back into your bedroom and shut the door, and for some reason you feel like that is safe. You've shut the door, it's on the other side. And then the little thought enters your mind, what if something came into the room while I was out? That's what her books feel like. It's a constant state of tension, and just when you think you're safe, you're not. It takes another twist and freaks you out some more. Her books are interestingly formatted, kind of almost epistolary, where there's different notes and letters and handwritten elements in it. In some cases there is text within text, and I'll see if I can find an example here. Like here you'll see the darker print within the lighter print. That forms an entirely another sentence to read. The story basically begins with 3 young children. There's Catherine, her younger sister Pamela, and their youngest sister Anne. They go off into the woods around their home, Python Wood, and they decide they're going to build a protector out of sticks and twigs and some cloth that they find, and it's Anne's idea at first, and she starts to build it and put it together, and then kind of gets bored with the whole thing, and they create some chant to say it's going to protect them and everything, and then she kind of runs off, and Catherine's left to kind of clean up everything, and then realizes that they never gave it a face, and it's got long, slender arms, and instantly it's like in a dark suit too, no face. So instantly the image of Slender Man from the internet came into my head, and that's who that was the whole time. Later will be known as the Creeper Man. We jump forward many years to just Catherine living in that home by herself, and suddenly two small girls come through the woods and knock on her door, and they are her younger sister Pamela's children, Priscilla and Eleanor, known as Scylla and Nori for short, and they have run away from home because they have a very abusive father, and Scylla's trying to protect her younger sister. And at first she's shocked that, they had agreed, her and her sisters, that, the kids would never come there, but now that they're there, I think it's comfort for her because she's been alone all this time. But she tells them a bit of a story about a man out in the woods, that they may have come through the woods because, yes, he would want them there, but he will never let them leave. Kind of like a boogeyman type thing. And she's thinking, her, Scylla's thinking her aunt's just telling stories, but she starts to, get a little freaked out by this. And, of course, that's not helping the youngest sister, Nori, either. We learn about her thoughts through the little handwriting we see in here, kind of scribbled handwriting. But for the most part, Scylla is telling us the story within this book. She comes to learn that this creeper man is sort of like a curse on the home, and that she should never enter the woods. It is dangerous, and that even though there's no proof to this, it's sort of that unknown terror beyond in the woods. But the situation in the home gets dramatically worse and worse. I mean, they're kind of trapped there. Supplies get down, and it's sort of like a known terror, known danger within the home, and it's like, it'd be better to face the terror out there, but it seems like it just continues and continues, and you're just wondering, how is this going to resolve itself? And just when I started to get an idea of where the book was going, and I did latch on to one correct idea, but just when I think I get it, like I said, Dawn will throw you for a loop, and you're suddenly, amazed at where the story's going next. It's just so captivating, and God, I can't wait till she writes another book, because this was just fantastic. I highly recommend her books. You can start with either one, The Dead House or The Creeper Man. They're not tied together in any way, but they're both very similar feel to it, and you will just love them both. I gave this one 5 stars. Okay, I just want to add a little teaser to this book as well, because I kind of left it out in my original review, but there are poems that Dawn has created at the beginning of several chapters. One is right at the back of the book, which I'll read for you. There's a man in the trees, a man with no eyes, but still he watches. That's the surprise. Stay away from the woods, it couldn't be clearer, but the trees are creeping nearer and nearer. Beware the creeper man. This is another really good one that kind of sets the scene as well. It says, there was an old lady who lived all alone until her nieces came all the way home. Nightly she prayed he'd stay away, but childhood demons come back to play. Yeah, that's my August wrap-up minus the one ebook that I read. So yeah, that's it for August. I'll try not to drag this out next time so long or so late. But thanks for watching. Bye-bye.